we're back. I appreciate you all engaging with us for that first hour of having a conversation of do we need incentives to make America successful? And I gave us one of the quotes by Mr. Merrill, and he said, what? Heartache, poverty, those types of scenarios are what a lot of times incentivize us. So because if you're living in hardship, if you're living in poverty, if you have a want, then you say, I need to do something different. And out of that creates an opportunity. And so I'm just so fortunate today, this morning, to have a young lady, Mrs. Carolyn Helm, with us to have a conversation because it was birthed out of her abuse. And I'm being very blunt. She's very transparent with us this morning. We can talk about the in-depthness of what her experiences have been that afforded her to have a moment. It's that incentive that says, I want to be better. I want to create a space where other people who have had and experienced abuses such as mine can have a real conversation. And a lot of times it doesn't mean that it's a step process is what I believe that it is. That you right then you might not have an immediate solution, but a lot of times I believe that there's comfort in a space with people who've had like experiences. Because it's very interesting for me to sit and say, oh, okay, well, yeah, domestic violence, maybe not so much. Maybe because you, for example, what did you do to have him put your hands on you? Well, no, I've experienced domestic violence. I told you all last year, my birthday this time, the gentleman that I was engaged to, he attacked me based on his insecurity, and we were literally fighting. If you can believe that I can fight someone who is 6'4" and 250 pounds, who had his hands on my neck, and we're literally fighting. And oh, but because of God's grace, I was able to remove myself out of that situation. And because I was never going to be put in that situation again, got a PPO, will continue to keep a PPO. He's a leader in the community. Isn't that funny? Authoritative figure. Isn't that interesting? But at the end of the day, my incentive was that I'm not going to experience this anymore, and I'm going to have a conversation because I want you all to know that what you might see Collette as, and you think that I haven't gone through anything, no, ma'am and sir. And so that if I can say this was traumatic for me, and I'm not going to subject myself to it, specifically that it was based on nothing that I did, not that anyone should ever do anything that puts their hands on you, but if I blatantly know that I didn't do anything, then we're going to have a real conversation. And I believe that that's what Carolyn is affording us today, a real conversation to talk about her event. I'm going to acknowledge the event. It's entitled, Abuse Made Me My Biggest Abuser. It's going to take place October the 27th from 5 to 7 p.m. And she does an interesting subtitle, which states, have you been a victim of any kind of abuse? So great morning to you, Carolyn. Such a pleasure to have you here.
Good morning. Thanks for having me.
Oh, always a pleasure. So let's talk about it. What made you decide that I need to create an event such as this?
Well, I was just, being silenced for so long.
Okay.
And being embarrassed.
Okay.
And then as I got older, I got friends that was telling me about their situation. So if they opened up to me, I can open up to them or anybody and help anybody.
Sure.
To close the silence, because we silence everything out because we don't want to be judged. We don't want, our family to feel some type of way about us or, just anybody in particular.
Sure.
So.
Sure. So was this, some things were just brewing inside of you?
Yes.
Okay.
I used to write a lot. And then going through like counseling and stuff like that, it was just like, you're getting paid to tell me this. This ain't right. So over the years, and as certain stuff kept happening, I'm like, okay, it's your chance to help somebody else and speak on yours to somebody that can relate.
Sure.
Then you'll get your real answers. You'll get a real feel of, everything that somebody else went through. And then you can help somebody talking to them.
Sure.
Because, everybody, oh, she's just giggly and bubbly.
Right.
But it's like, oh, you don't know what's behind the makeup and the glasses.
Yeah.
So I'm just here to just put it out, and hopefully others put it out to me, and we can all come together and just, touch other people that's probably going through the same thing and scared to get out.
Yeah, and it's really interesting when Carolyn made the point, because I think there was a song, and it's a religious song, "You Don't Know My Story," right? And so a lot of times I think, and it totally ties into the conversation that we've had, Carolyn, I believe before you came on, about the facades that we put up and the images that we put up, because we want everyone to believe a certain thing that we believe is going to put us in a certain space.
Right.
And once you start pulling those layers down and really dealing with the truths of it, if you don't address them, it will cause a problem for you. Yes. Is that what you found?
Okay. It made me just feel like I was just not being myself. Like I was just pretending to be somebody. And even like a movie actor, after playing a role for so long, it's like, who am I? You know what I'm saying? So I know who I am.
Sure.
And I have to do what I have to do.
Sure.
To make me a better person. Even a parent, because when you go through stuff, your anger and everything, anything sets you off. You don't want your kid to come, Mommy, I had a good day. Leave me alone.
Right.
Right. So, and I went through that. Right. So, it just, when you're real with yourself and you love yourself, everything flows better. So.
And that's the truth of it. That right how you are, with all the experiences that you've had, that it's okay. That you said, guess what? Right now, Carolyn's okay. Like, I'm okay. All of these experiences have helped to make me. Now, whether I agree with them, whether I should have had to go through them, that's a whole different conversation. That's not what we're saying. But we're saying that you can't be stuck on that. You can't just constantly keep reliving this whole experience of what happened to you. And let's be very clear, and maybe you can speak on that a bit, because abuse is just abuse. We're not talking about the types of abuse, right? Like, that's not the conversation that you're asking us to have with you.
No.
Okay.
It's not, when people hear abuse, they're like, oh, he hit me. But it's more than just physical.
Yeah.
It's mental, it's verbal, it's a lot.
Yeah.
Sometimes even when you being abused, that's why I named it abuse made me my biggest abuser, because when it happened to me, I found myself abusing myself. I would, take prescription drugs and, drink more liquor and, thoughts of, hurting myself or, oh, how would it be if I wasn't here, So I felt like I attacked me more than the attacker at times. Because even years later, it's still, I'm attacking myself.
Yeah.
And we don't notice that we do that because we're like, oh, if I just take a pill or if I just drink or if I just smoke this, it's just going to all go away.
Right.
But when it all go down, you
it.
Still got the same feeling.
Say it.
So what you going to do? Keep doing it. And I kept doing it. I'm like, oh, God. So I'm like, wait a minute. I need help.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
And it was like, go talk to this person. No, I'm going to help myself because I know me and I know what I'm supposed to do.
Okay.
Like my father, he came into my life and he was there. He was that person I could talk to about everything.
Yeah.
And, he used to tell me, oh, if you do alcohol, that's a drug. And I'd be like, oh, God.
Right, here he go.
Oh, God.
Right.
I mean, so many tapes he played, tattoo tapes. Like, when I got a tattoo, he played a whole sermon for me. I'm like, oh, God. So now it's like, Carol, do you really want to go back to your dad and say, Dad, I'm back doing this?
Right.
For him to play another tape?
Right.
No, you have to be grown, strap on your big girl underwear.
Right.
And face it yourself.
Yeah.
And see how better it is for you.
Yeah.
So, and I feel more free.
Sure.
So that's why I'm here today.
Amen. That's right. If I am not going to be remiss. I just had the pleasure of knowing her dad, Mr. Quintus Leverett. I call him L. People try to, talk about our nicknames for each other. And I had the pleasure, he shared with me, and I'm going to tear up because that's what I do, a piece that you wrote for him. And you posted it. And it was just so amazing, because you just honored who he is to you and who he has been to you. And we need, especially women, you need that. If you don't get the validation from a man, whether it's your biological dad, a man who's come into your life to sow into you, it makes all the difference. Can you just speak on that again?
Well, my dad, that's my happy place.
Yeah.
He's always been my happy place.
I know, right? He is. He just is. And Leverett is just everything. Let me just say this. And we're not making this the Leverett show. But like, he's in the building now. And I mean, it means everything to know that there's someone, especially a man, that can speak life into you. And I think that that's a lot of times what we miss in our lives, and it doesn't take anything away from our mother. So let's just be very clear about that. And people have an issue or take exception a lot of times with the daddy-daughter thing and the son-mother thing. I get it. Like, I know my brother was my mother's heart. I know that my mother loves me to death. I don't ever question that. But Carlos and my mama, that was her guy. Like, and I understand that, and I get it. And just like who I am to my dad. And as a child at 2, when my parents separated, I didn't understand that. And I know I went through probably 16 years of, like you said, internalizing it. But I had such a structure with my mother that it didn't afford itself to have any of those other experiences because she just structured it in such a way that I didn't have to turn to alcohol or turn to pills or turn to. I internalized it though. So that's not healthy either.
Right.
And so you're saying now that your event, what do you, in your best desire, what do you want this evening to look like?
Honestly, I just want to inspire people.
Yeah.
I want to be that one that, oh, if she can do it, I can do it.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And face it. You know, a lot of times, like, the abusers be people close to us, really close to us.
Yeah.
And it's just like, I'm going to have to face him.
Yeah.
But I can't face my abuser right now because he passed away. But if he, was here, I would face him.
Yeah. Yeah.
And, I wouldn't care who thought what. I wouldn't care about the separation of family.
Right.
I wouldn't care about who said what.
Right.
Absolutely.
And sometimes, I mean, that's the voices that we have to have. Like, and we know in our family specifically, you know who's doing what. And we have to take a charge. Maybe that goes back to the conversation earlier about talking about the things that we really don't want to talk about. But you know who's doing what in families, especially to children. And for whatever reason, we just want to be so bent on keeping the secrets, keeping the raggedy family together, continuing the generational curse, and then you create quote-unquote dysfunctional adults because as adults you didn't protect the children and they get up and grow up and start reliving those same experiences or not addressing them and then creating addictive behaviors. And it's a horrible cycle. And we have to do something different. Carol, we got a caller. Let's go to the line. Okay. You want to do that? Thanks for your patience. Good morning to you.
Good morning, Queen.
Good morning, King.
Good morning to your guests. Excellent subject,
Good morning.
Queen.
Yeah.
What the sister is saying, most of us black in America can relate to something dealing with some type of psychological abuse, far as coming up as children. And a lot of times, it ain't just the females, it's also males. And it goes back to the fact that we have to realize that our parents had experiences, and they dysfunctional. In other words, all of our families are dysfunctional, and that's the bottom line. All of us are, as I will say, all of us always are putting on different masks to start our days. This is the way because we try to be accepted. And it's because the world that we live in is a world that we didn't produce.
Right.
And to be accepted, we all have to put on different masks. And a lot of times we abuse each other, unbeknowing, because we're all trying to play a role in a movie that we really are trying to get apart. That really the part is not for us.
Yeah.
And so we can just continue on in this madness, abusing each other, unbeknowing. And I can say as a man today, and I'm like sister coming up, in society where it's that I came up in what they call elite community in the late 50s, and I come from a dark family. And when I went to school, even to deal with teachers that had a psychological effect because they felt, or the mistreatment because you wasn't light-skinned. You wasn't light enough.
Yeah.
You didn't have the curly hair.
Right.
You didn't have the clothes that
Right.
the other children had.
Yeah.
And you had to take that abuse for years, and your parents didn't know what you was going
Yeah.
when you went off to school. You know, they just said, go to school, you know. But you, within yourself, you hated the way the Creator had created you, not knowing all that you was going through. There was a reason for it.
Yeah.
And when you know, later on down the road in life, you begin that everything was being orchestrated by Almighty God.
Yeah.
And God was orchestrating because those things you had to go through to bring out certain characteristics that were within yourself. In other words, you had a bigger purpose down the road.
Right.
You didn't know it because you were always trying to be a part of that world. But you
Right.
didn't know what God was always the plan. He was always planning. He was always working with you.
Yeah.
And sometimes it's painful, but, you know, I made it through it. And at the end, and I say this on the highest hill, I'm thankful to Almighty God for allowing me to go through what I went through, because I wouldn't be the person that I am today. And because of that, I'm not angry, you know, what I went through.
Yeah.
I'm thankful to God because now I know He had allowed me to know Him. And I say things over the airways that others may not been understand or even believe, or maybe look at me to be some, you know, nut or whatever.
Right.
But I know things that others don't know, and that's because God blessed me to know, and He
Yes.
prepared me to know.
Yes.
And when you know, we just don't know, things are going to change. They're going to change in the twinkling of an eye. There will be things for this old world. There will be a point that you will never know anything about it or whatever.
Right.
When we look at what they have done, what they have done, we just don't know within us.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to bring in a whole new reality, a whole new world. It's within us.
Yeah.
We just acted out a script. You know, I'm a father, write history every 25,000 years. It's a conference for the planet, which is 24,896 miles.
Okay.
They write history. We walk off the pages. And we are at a certain junction where what we have been through for the past 400, 6,000 years is coming to an end.
Okay.
And we have the opportunity to be a part of it, or we will go down with the word that we see. Because when you really just look at, just honest, just sit back and look at what's going on.
Okay.
If you're just honest with your own self, the world that we live in is crazy.
Yeah.
It's out of control. It's completely out of control. This is not the way we were created to be.
Right.
You might understand, you can't go to a doctor. You can't go to a court. You sit around and wait on people trying to vote. Understand, your life depends on a vote. You might just hear somebody tell you your life depends on a vote for another individual who's crazy as hell, too.
Right.
And this is how we live, Queen.
Yeah.
This
Yeah.
is all about to come to an end. It's about to come to an end.
Yeah.
Just keep living and keep watching. Things are happening
Yeah.
beyond us or whatever.
Yes.
And God has prepared some of us to be able to recognize that He's in the picture.
Yes.
He has come in.
Yes.
And this thing is over. It's over. It's over.
Yeah.
Sister, don't feel bad what you've been. There's a reason. That body that each and one of us have, that we have, it's just a vehicle
Yeah.
that we use to travel in the dimensions.
Yeah.
The real person is inside the skin.
Yes.
That's just the car you drive.
Right. Yeah.
That's
Absolutely,
just the
King.
car you drive.
Yes.
You know, in every car that's created, understand, he don't make that one snowflakes alike.
Sure. Sure.
And so people can say, well, I don't like the car, I don't like the car, whatever. Don't worry about it.
Okay.
Drive your car, understand, and be proud. Don't do your thing, understand?
Yeah.
This thing is coming to an end.
Yeah. Well,
It's
she's
coming
doing
to an
it.
end. Don't try to fit in, not into this crazy world.
Right.
Be yourself.
Well, she's
Make
doing it.
yourself happy.
King, she's
That's
doing
it.
it,
You
and
all
we
have a
appreciate it.
totally blessed weekend.
Have a blessed one
Love
as
you
well.
all.
Love you too. Carolyn, see, that's what happens when people can speak life into you, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you've been transparent. And so we appreciate that because it's
Thank
so
you.
true. Everyone, you're going through something. You're going through something right now, but that's life. And so what do you do with it? Carolyn didn't say, guess what? I'm just going to say, okay, I'm just going to stay stuck right here. I know what I know. I know how things have impacted me. I know what my triggers are. And so what do I do about it? I believe that to be able to create a round table that you've done, that's going to be, I believe, a strong 2 hours apart. Is there a fee for this event?
No, it's all free.
It's free, everybody. Did you get that? So now there's really no excuse. So a free, it is 2 hours from 5 to 7 p.m. on the 27th. That is Saturday. Where's it going to be?
It's gonna be at my church, God's Universal Praise Church,
Okay.
10601 East Warren.
Okay. Say that one more time. God Universal Praise Church at
10601 East Warren.
East Warren. And then to get more information from you, what would you like them to do? Would you like them to email
You can email
you or call
me
you? Okay.
at helmcarol20@gmail, or you can give me a phone call at 313-986-7110.
Okay, and let's spell that. Helm.
Helm, HELM,
Yes.
Carol, CAROLE, 20@gmail.com.
I mean, so hello. You have all the information. We're going to go to the line real quick, okay? We got another call this morning. Great morning to you.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
What is the topic this morning?
Well, right now, Brother Tyrone, you're just interesting. Right now, we're introducing Mrs. Carolyn Helm. She has an event that's coming up. It's entitled Abuse Made Me My Biggest Abuser. And so we're talking about all the types of abuse that we have experienced in this experience of our lives. And so specifically hers at the hand, it could be physical or psychological or emotional. And she's having an event that's going to take place on Saturday, October the 27th from 5 to 7 p.m. And so the conversation for this segment has been just that. If you'd like to talk about something else, we're going to take a break at the half, and then I'm going to open up the last 30 minutes to Freestyle Friday. So you can call back at that time once I go to break and have a different conversation if you like. But this time we're just continuing, we're about to wrap up under the subtitle, Have You Been a Victim of Any Kind of Abuse?
Oh, okay.
All right, so you want to call back after I go to break?
Yeah, I can call.
Okay.
I'll wait. I'll call back. Don't make no difference.
Okay, I'll put you on hold. So at the end of the day, I believe that, as King said, it's true. We can either play victim, and a lot of people don't like that terminology, but I'm going to say it. We stay in victim. We stay in what someone did to you. Why didn't they do that to you? Why didn't people protect me? Why? And at the end of the day, that does nothing to empower you and to understand who your best you is. And so you shared something with me, and I hope you can share it in these last few minutes.
Okay.
The other day, you shared that you know yourself so well that you're able to tell the people that are closest to you, wait a minute, you might be triggering me. Can you talk about that?
Well, of course, like before, when the abuse happened, I was there just bottling it in.
Yeah.
But as I got older, it's like, okay, this not hurting nobody else. Nobody else is feeling this but you.
Right.
So if you open up and release, you'll be better. You'll know yourself. You'll know, even if somebody throw it in your face, oh, that's why you went through this, or that's why this happened to you, it'd just bounce right off.
Right. Right.
It wouldn't tear you down.
Right.
Because I used to be like the type of person to just walk away and
Yeah.
just go cry and just write. But now it's like, what else do you have?
Right. Come with something else. What else you got? Right.
What else do you
That's
have
all
to
you
say to
can come at me with? Right. I got that.
Even bullying,
Yeah.
people, oh, you fat and this and that. It's just, it used to bother me.
Right.
When I was like, what else?
Well, I got curves. What's the problem? Right? Like, whatever. And it's me. So me being in my best, how's that have an impact on you? Why do
Right.
you have a problem with it, huh?
Right.
That's how I say it. So we got another call. Let's go to the line.
Okay.
Thanks for your patience. Great morning to you.
Good morning.
Good
Good
morning.
morning.
You said you got a play that's named "Abuse Made Me My Greatest Abuser."
Not a play. She's about to host a roundtable discussion on Saturday, the 27th. And
Okay,
so
well,
her subject title was Abuse Made Me My Biggest Abuser.
whoever abused you, oppression made them your abuser. That's what makes black men so abusive. People treat other people the way they're treated.
Okay.
And this is especially goes for black people that work for white people or are a lot of times in leadership because the oppression is stronger there. But
Okay.
it's not healthy to accept. That's the problem of accepting oppression and accepting abuse is you have to oppose it because you will become abusive to others and even to yourself.
Yes. Absolutely. That is what Mrs. Helm has been so forthright in sharing with us. And so
Yeah.
many of us don't do that. We internalize everything and we put on the facade when we get out in public, and then we're terrors at home. So you're a
Yeah.
terror to your children, you're a terror to your partner, you're a terror to
Yeah.
your family because they know your real you. They see the real you. Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, I wanted to address when you said that abusers tend to abuse. And when I was in counseling, they did tell me that. They were telling me, like, it was a chance that I may be an abuser.
Yeah.
And I was like, no, I'm not going to go around touching little kids. I'm not going to do this to kids and this and that. But when I got older, I did notice that I did become an abuser because I used to, you know, my thing would be get them before they get you.
Right.
Yeah,
And
that's the general
so
principle
I did see
in
that,
psychology.
but I didn't know what they meant when they told me,
That's
"Oh, you're
right.
gonna abuse." I'm like, "No, I'm not gonna do that," but
Right.
I did.
Right. Not,
E-
and like not like it was
yeah,
presented to you,
yeah,
but whether your tone, your act, not being emotionally available, or using things to manipulate situations to your advantage,
right,
because you didn't want to be hurt again.
right.
You felt that you need to control that situation. Yeah.
So so now it's
Yeah,
like, now that I got peace with myself,
Yeah.
I can just be like, Carol, this is not it.
Right.
Just leave it as
yeah,
is.
Yeah.
So,
Yes.
yeah. Abuse is a form of oppression.
Okay.
So we have to reject oppression.
We do. We do. And I believe that it starts with us being able to have the kind of conversations that we're having right now. In a
Right.
format that we have. I mean, we're not just in this studio. We're across all the airwaves that TV 33 covers, all the airwaves that Comcast 91 covers, all the airwaves that Roku covers, all the airwaves streaming live, and that's across this world. We're being able to have a real conversation about things that have an immediate impact on who we are as people. Absolutely. No one should be oppressed. We are not justifying oppression for anyone, specifically the black man or the black woman or the brown man or the black brown woman. And then that is not a justification for you then abusing or oppressing someone else. So I appreciate your call. We appreciate your call. Everyone, we're so thankful to have Miss Carol Helm in the building. Her event, again, Abuse Made Me My Biggest Abuser, Saturday, October the 27th from 5 to 7 p.m. Have you been a victim of any kind of abuse? Make sure you follow her, Helm Carol 20 at gmail.com. And the telephone number again?
313-986-7110.
Absolutely, everyone. So come on. We all, and it's free. So there's no excuse, you guys. Always be open to getting an opportunity to have information and a conversation that will make everyone better. And it's a start. So we appreciate you. Thank you
you.
so much, everyone. We're going to take a quick break and then we'll be back. It's going to be our Freestyle Friday. The last 25 minutes or so are going to be open. Whatever you want to talk about, whatever's on your mind, you're able to talk about it this morning. I'm sure it's going to be quite interesting. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back. If you want to make sure you stay in good conversation, you gotta tune in to Coffee and Conversation with Collette. That's me, Thursday mornings from 7 a.m. to 8 a.m. on the only station, WHPR TV 33. See you soon. We're back. Thank you so much for your time at the top of the hour to be able to have a very serious conversation. Again, we've addressed things that aren't too comfortable with us over the last couple of days, but I promise you, it's like a seed that is birthing out of the ground. You know, it's a little turbulence along the way. If you can envision the seed that's planted its roots, and the next thing you know, the dirt is coming and it's growing up out of the dirt to be a beautiful flower. That's what we are blossoming into because we're dealing with our truths. We're dealing with things that could be disappointments and hurts and the truth of who people are. It doesn't make them bad people, but again, we don't necessarily have to subject ourselves to those experiences. And that's across the board, everyone. If you realize how these conversations are fitting into the bigger scope of the narrative that we're shaping from conversations on this show today, that if you know who you are, no matter what the situation is, you are able to maneuver, you're able to navigate, you're able to create a plan. But again, if you are not truthful, where will you go? You'll keep being the mouse looking for the cheese and keeps running, like the maze. You'll keep trying to find the cheese, but it's like your nose you're stuffed up. You have a cold. And so you can't find the cheese because you're stuffed up. So you just keep running in, hitting the walls, and you'll never get to an end that you identify, an end that's good for you. And I don't want us, when this physical life is over, to have any regrets that we didn't address the issues, that we weren't our best people possible. And that has nothing to do with the stuff. I'll tell you that right now. Nothing to do with the stuff. Nothing to do, can I say it again? Nothing to do with the stuff. You might have all the stuff. You might work hard to get all the stuff. And then what? There have been people who've taken their lives that we've seen because they had all this stuff, but it doesn't make you happy. It doesn't add peace to your inner man. It doesn't mean that you're going to comfortably walk in your purpose and understand who you're supposed to be in this environment. You can be in the world and not of the world. So that is what my charge is to us. And we don't have to live in the passing space, literally and figuratively passing. You can be your authentic you and all of its truths, and to be transparent in that, because as Mrs. Helm said this morning, it just makes you better. To thine own self be true. It doesn't mean that you need validation from anybody and that you don't let people put things on you. So everyone, I'm opening up our lines. The next 20 minutes or so are just going to be all about you. Whatever you want to talk about. Now the lines are lit because now you can talk, and that's okay too. That is the time that I want to afford us this morning. So I'm going to go straight to the lines. I apologize for whatever order that I get them in. I know Brother Tyrone was holding, but I'm just going to hit the line, and we're going to, if this is not you, then we're going to get to you. Great morning to you.
Can you hear me?
Oh, absolutely. Yes, ma'am.
Okay, I have a comment.
Okay.
I want to make it short.
Please.
I live in the Northwest section, Finkel and Myers area.
Okay.
And I think we as black people, we put a lot on the system that we shouldn't put on. The reason we have a proliferation of vacant homes in this city is because we got caught up in refinancing and gambling. Now, I want to also say something about the job situation.
Okay.
I'm a 40-year auto veteran. I'm retired.
Okay.
You had the preachers, you had the people in the school that were telling these young kids in the late 80s and early 90s that the job market is going to change. So when these manufacturing jobs left, it's not something that happened overnight.
Right.
For whatever reason, the youngsters chose not to prepare themselves and get technical skills.
Okay.
So we're left with a lot of bad feelings and blaming the system on things we shouldn't blame. I want to also talk about materialism.
Okay.
I come up from an era that you didn't waste anything.
Okay.
And you took a little and you made a lot.
Yes.
A lot of times we squander money on things that we don't have to do. And this is why we getting evicted. This is why light and gas is getting cut off.
Okay.
The older values that the older people had, they had for a reason.
Yes.
Now, I want to talk about this crack epidemic.
Okay.
We already had a heroin epidemic from the late 60s, and we turned our face.
Okay.
Now we got a worse screw. See, a lot of times, instead of us addressing things, we turn our face. We feel as long as it doesn't happen to me or my family directly, it's not a problem.
Yes.
Now we've got carjackings, we got stealing, we got people so bold you can be in your house, they kick your doors in.
Right.
See, a lot of this stuff get a burden. A lot of this stuff, we as a race, we're going to have to clean up ourselves.
Yes.
Thanks for listening to me, man.
Oh, thank you
Bye-bye.
for being a first-time caller. And stay there. You don't have to hang up real quick. I just appreciate everything that you brought to the conversation this morning. And I hope that everyone received the information that she shared in the truth of what it is. Absolutely. We have to be accountable. We have to realize that the incentive for us is that we're better as a community. And that guess what? It's in your house today, but it can be in my house tomorrow. And that's our problem. I think that we disconnect from each other because, as the caller said, it's not in my house. That's not in my family. But it can be. So you shouldn't disconnect. You should say, okay, I need to make this better for all of us. And absolutely, no one else is going to fix it for us. Oh, appreciate it. I appreciate that. Let's go to the next line. Thanks for your patience. Good morning.
Miss Collette,
Yes.
you told me not to hang up. This the lady just got to talk.
Yes. Thank you so much. Thank you so
okay,
much for your call.
And I want to say this. You know, we talk about the white man's God.
Yeah.
He's the God of all of us.
Mm.
And I want to talk about the dating.
Okay.
You know, young women going to have to learn that their body is a temple. And you don't dress and show your goodies out for everybody to see. There's a certain protocol you're supposed to take when you date men. And I don't mean going to bed. I mean going to church, going to the movies, making picnics. You have to have a foundation.
Yeah.
And what these young girls don't really understand, when you meet a man that really got it going on, I mean, he don't have no emotional handicaps, no drugs, no alcohol, no felony record, and he's balanced.
Yeah.
He don't want a woman like that for no wife.
That you
There's
just
a
said
reason
something.
why we are supposed to take certain steps, doing certain things.
Yeah.
And you can't get mad with the man because God made men to be visually stimulated. Now, you might not be the one that he wants.
Right.
That don't mean he won't stay on the hunt for somebody else and still mess with you. So we're going to, like Martha Jean used to say on the radio, we're going to have an agenda.
Yeah.
We're going to have to resurrect and keep boundaries. See, a lot of this stuff that happens to young women, it's not all these young men's fault.
Nice.
Okay, bye-bye.
Nice. Thank you. I need to just write everything down that she said. Talk about boundaries, talk about having a plan, that we have to hold each other accountable. I agree wholeheartedly. And thank you. I think I might do the show on boundaries. And absolutely, at the end of the day, you're right. If you don't have a plan for what you want the outcome to be, you're right. Because anybody, and to her point, you can do whatever to get what you think is the outcome. And don't get it twisted. I believe, and I'm not a man, and only men can speak for this. If you let them get away with things, if you let them have, it's what you let them do. So if you give them everything and they don't have to date you, people don't date anymore. People don't know how to date. They don't know how to court. They want to come over to your house. And if you let them come over to your house, no. How's that? But a lot of times women are so desperate for the attention and the time that we just let folks come. The first thing they ask you, well, what you cook? No, because we set that up. So all they want to do is come over to your house, eat your food, lay up in your house, and then try to jump on you. And that's it. That's for a great date, huh? Stop it. We're going to do a show on that. We're probably going to bring my sister Gina back and talk about dating and where we really are. What's really good? Or has everything just become a monetary exchange? That's a whole different subject. Let me get to the line. Thanks for your patience. Good morning to you.
Yes, good morning.
Good morning.
Yes, earlier this month,
Okay.
Ford Motor Company asked the city council for $104 million to renovate the train station.
Yes.
And people started saying, wait a minute, we tired of giving tax breaks and not getting none for it.
Mm-hmm.
The former vice president of UAW, named Jimmy Sellers, he wrote an article in the Chronicle called Investments Brings Jobs.
Right.
he is 1 trillion times wrong when it comes to the black community getting jobs out of the investments that's happened in Detroit. Because I asked, and write his article, answer his article, asking him, where has he been when they built 2 stadiums and no jobs was for black people? It was back in the 90s.
Yeah.
When they did the theaters and orchestra hall.
Yes.
And the 3 casinos.
Yes.
We seen there was no jobs. And then they had an article at that time in 1997 in Detroit News. They said the hotel said they couldn't find nobody to hire because they couldn't pass the literacy test to change bed.
Right.
They totally disrespect us, and the city council of Detroit, predominantly black, gave them tax breaks. And those tax breaks is another word they call subsidies, is another word for welfare.
Yeah.
They diverted that tax money from the general fund that helped with our garbage and all that other stuff we need in the community. And then they kept our mortgages high, was not really what the market value was, so that we would pay for those tax breaks. And so when he said a train station gonna give a job, well, Henry Ford said, not Henry Ford, but Ford Motor Company said, in 4 years they would have the whole thing done down there.
Right.
Now you start the clock at 2022. Not now. And
wait. Brother Tyrone, stay there for 1 second. Stay there for 1 second. I need some clarity on this. But didn't the Maroons own the train station?
But no, Ford bought it from him.
Okay, so stay right there. So I want us to talk more about, I want you to stay and speak on that. So that train station had been dilapidated forever. It seems like for as long as I am old, that train station has been an eyesore that the Maroon family has owned and wasn't forced to do anything with it. But now he was able to reap the benefit of a sale to Ford, didn't have to refurbish it, didn't have to put monies back into it, didn't have to do any of that, was able to reap the benefit of a sale to Ford Corporation, and now the city is going to give you too much money, which makes no sense, and tax incentives. Absolutely, we have a problem with that. And who else is having a conversation? And how is that okay when we're dealing with citizens who can't even get monies to put roofs on their homes? That the streets look like Beirut. That we can't have rec centers that are open. We don't have facilities to be able to have after-school programs for young people, but you can constantly keep giving these corporations money. Please, Brother Tyrone, finish your point.
Yes, you're absolutely right. But here's the backdrop.
Okay.
We're not bringing jobs because they're bringing in 2,500 workers. He's not bringing in no application. But more so, when you get the 104 million, Jimmy Sellers didn't tell us that they're going to give them, declare that area Renaissance. So when those white workers come in, they won't pay no property tax in the Renaissance zone when it's declared that. They won't pay no income taxes. They won't pay no utility taxes for police and all that service. And when they don't pay nothing, they divert that money from the general fund. They have to make that shortfall up. And they're going to kill us this time because they're going to raise our water, our utility bills to pay for the police. When all the police is going to be downtown, it's not in our neighborhood.
Yeah.
And we're going to lose a lot of homes, senior citizens. We must tell the city council they must not. And if they do, we should organize ourselves, and I would say by zip code, and put every last one of them out of office and turn all this around. Otherwise, we are through booking if Ford Motor get that money and the subsidies that goes with it. Our bill's going to outstrip our income in Detroit, and we're going to be moved out here. The black community I'm talking about.
Great point. Yes, I totally agree.
Now.
I totally agree. Have an amazing day, everyone. Do you have any feedback on what Brother Tyrone has said. And this is but yet another example because we consistently see it. And absolutely, where is this city council voice? This is a deal that the mayor brought to them, and they're just pushing it on along. And none of it benefits the citizens, the generational citizens that have been here, that have been keeping this city afloat. But every day, our office is inundated with calls, to his point, from seniors who don't have the resources and shouldn't have to take a loan out to be able to keep their property up. Generational residents. It's not about color. It's about who's been here when the lights were shut off, when they didn't want to be here anymore, left, still kept the city afloat, still had leaders, quote unquote, who didn't understand what it is to lead, and then you still didn't fight when the economic hit the bottom with the housing crisis, didn't try to fight to get the taxes adjusted based on the new value of homes, and tons of people lost homes that they shouldn't have lost, but you all didn't even understand the governance of it. So you shouldn't be in the position anyway, is what I say. You shouldn't even be there. Let me go to the line. Thanks for your patience. Good morning to you.
Oh, good morning. How you doing this morning?
Amazing. How are you?
Oh, I'm doing great.
Okay.
I'm glad Tyrone brought that up, but I'm gonna hit on that in a minute. First
Okay.
of all, the city council we know are nothing but a bunch of puppets, and Duggan, who was not really elected, is a dictator.
Mm-hmm.
A Republican dictator is that. So those facts will help people understand a lot, or should.
Okay.
Second of all, they have an ad out against Garland Gilchrist,
Right.
the lieutenant governor, hopeful, talking about some property he bought not too long ago, as a matter of fact,
Right.
that he intends, from the looks of it, looks pretty secure to me, but he looks like he's intended to rehab it and turn it into some type of rental.
Right.
And then Tyrone brought up the point, which we all should remember, how Matty Maroon had that humongous eyesore over there for decades, sitting on property that he flipped. But nothing's wrong with that.
Right.
You know?
Yes, absolutely. I brought that up, actually.
African-American woman, and she saw the commercial against Garland Gilchrist on that point. Oh, well, I'm not voting for him then.
Right.
I mean, how can y'all fall for all this foolishness? It's sickening.
Yes.
It's okay for white folks, the Illiches, the Maroons, Dan Gilbert, to buy up eyesores, let them sit for a while. Then when the time is right, they flip it. Oh, that's okay for them. But when a black man tries to play the same game, he's castrated. And we sit up there and let the people castrate them like we don't have any doggone sense.
Yes. Great
I don't
point.
understand what's wrong with us.
Because you know what? Yes,
they have
you
a
do.
different set of rules for white folks.
Yeah.
Black folks, no, you can't play this game. This is our game. When you play it, you're a criminal.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, the same thing with the opioid and heroin. First of all, they're not criminals. They need help.
Right.
Second of all, the police, the very people who are supposed to arrest them and put them in jail, they supply them with Narcan so they can bring them back to life.
Right.
And now they have a kit out so they can save them and give them a kit. Oh, before you do your drugs, you can test it with this kit, see if it has fentanyl.
Right.
Ain't that a dog?
Right.
Oh, my God. But you know, because they're dying by the thousands.
Yeah.
We don't know the true number. They gave a number which is astronomical, but it's probably higher than that. They're killing themselves off left and right with that heroin/opioid. And they say, oh, these white people, I don't care if they are dope fiends, they can't die.
Right.
But when we had the crack epidemic, we were criminals, put them in jail, this, that, and the third.
Yes. Absolutely.
I thank you and have a nice weekend.
Thank you so much for calling. Absolutely. Because we consistently live in a space where they define what's of value. Remember, people of color who go through the same thing, just like the Flint water crisis, who consistently being diseased, the water crisis that we're dealing with right now, don't think that those pipes that go into the schools that's the only place they go. If there's problems in the pipes in the schools, it's a problem with the pipes at your house too. But you're identified as surplus labor. So it's okay. We have to lose them. Those are the casualties. It's no problem. But because we're very clear and we talked about what the plan is, and we talked about that, Donald Trump extended the whole issue with the census for 2045 now to try to keep them in control because they know that the other populations of people of color are growing and they're losing power. They don't want that. So to your point, even if you are on opioids and you all that, I'm going to do everything you can to help you manage your addiction because it's still of value. We're still showing that you have value. And absolutely, I brought up the point about the Maroons owning that building, the haunted house for years that didn't even have to be displayed as a haunted house. And it was okay for them. And they didn't live in the community. It was an eyesore. It was a blight. And it wasn't a problem. Because, again, they identified because those deals were met. Those behind the door plans were made. And you all know what this is. So then what do we do about it? Let's take another call before we wrap up. Thanks for your patience. Good morning to you.
Good morning.
Good morning.
You know, when I listened to Tyrone, he talked about the train station building.
Yes.
And there's other buildings.
Yes.
There's another building, the Packard building,
Yes.
over there on the west side.
Yes.
Now, one thing about those buildings is that it costs more to tear it down than it does to refurbish it.
Okay.
Okay. Which I do not agree with the plan that is put forward, but I'm not in control because I understand we have a representative type of government.
Okay.
That the people that are put in place are in place represent me, and they make the decision.
All
okay. Right. So now I'm going to have to learn how to deal with the decisions that have been made and strategically go forward. Okay.
Okay.
Now, myself, I'm like the previous caller. I've done my 40 years.
Okay.
Now, whether I want to work or not is that there's certain things about working for 40 years that happens to you, especially if you haven't got there yet.
Mm-hmm.
The mind is willing, but the body tells you, you know what? You really can't compete anymore.
Okay.
Okay. Having said that, I understand who's going to make the money on this thing and
Sure.
what kind of money.
Sure.
Now, when he does this for 4 years, the people that's going to go there are already in place. I can
Okay.
tell you that now.
Yeah.
They're going to be the construction people, and they're going to have a job for 4 years.
Yes.
Now, what is the result of that job? Now, I'm not certain if we still have a Detroit income tax, an income tax
Okay.
that you give to the residents from out of your income. We pay 2%, and non-residents pay 1%.
Okay.
Now, the failure in the past when it was done is that the people that had these didn't collect the taxes from the 1%.
Right.
So when you see those buildings behind you that were built and the people came from other places, they just didn't collect them because
Sure.
taxes are voluntary.
Sure.
They expected their employees to pay the tax, and they didn't never file, and you don't have the resources to get this money from the city, you know, or you just play the game. You just say, fine.
Okay, so this is what we're going to do, everyone. Because my time is up, I always try to be considerate, of course, of the show
Yes.
that's coming on next. And, of course, it's our own Brenda Perryman. So I'm going to stick a pin right there. We're going to top this off on next week. It's going to be the initial top of conversation. I'm going to bring in the Detroit tax incentives, and we're going to talk about the Ford deal. We're going to talk about all of that. We're going to continue our conversation on that, so I appreciate the call. I don't want us to go anywhere with what is engaging us because we need to understand what is happening, who we hold accountable, the power that we still have in the vote, because we can make a difference, everyone. So continue making today amazing. I hope that you have been educated, enlightened, and empowered. Think about it. Make the moments matter. Until next week, have an amazing day.